right, team, am I good to go?
Good to go.
Great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, supporters and partners. My name is Joy Cawthorn, and I serve as the Chief Development Officer for the Southeastern Pennsylvania region of the American Red Cross. It is my privilege to welcome you to our 5th virtual speaker series entitled Service to Armed Forces: How the Red Cross Supports Our Military and Their Families. This presentation is designed to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how our service to armed forces operates. I am so excited to introduce to you our presenters today, whom I actually consider heroes, as they have also served our country. Our first presenter is Bill Rodebaugh, our Service to Armed Forces and International Service Program Director. And following Bill, you will hear from Cory, the Executive Director for our Greater Columbus chapter. We are so grateful for their service and for their time today to discuss this important work. Before I turn it over to Bill and Cory, I would like to share a few participant tips with you. This presentation is being recorded, so please stay on mute and to reduce echoes and background noise. If you hear an echo, please lower your volume slightly. To keep our presentation within the allotted time, we will not have live question and answer session. I encourage you to email or call your Red Cross contact that invited you to today's event with any questions or requests for more information. Thank you, and without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Bill Rodebaugh. Bill?
Joy, thank you very much. And I thank everybody for being able to attend today. Obviously, the month of November is significant for a number of reasons, but specifically within the Service to Armed Forces community, Veterans Day is housed in this month. My name is Bill Rodebaugh. As Joy said, I am the Director of Service to Armed Forces in Southeastern Pennsylvania, as well as a Director for International Services. I'm a 20-year retiree and veteran of the United States Army, and I have been in this role with the Red Cross since August of 2018. And I will tell you, I've had many opportunities to do presentations about this program, and up to this point, I thought that the most difficult was after a 3 or 4 day conference on the last day after lunch. But with a presidential election being worked out in real time as we're doing this may be the most challenging. But I hope to be able to distract you from the ongoings right now and to give you a really good solid foundation with the few minutes that we have together on what the Service to Armed Forces program is, how it's broken out, and what we do for veterans and their families on behalf of the Red Cross and the Service to Armed Forces. Next slide, please. And next slide. So for those of you on the call who may just be audio only and not being able to see the slide, there is a map of the central and eastern portion of Pennsylvania. The 5 counties in southeastern Pennsylvania, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, Bucks, and Philadelphia counties are what encompasses the southeastern Pennsylvania region. And I just wanted to talk geography a little bit because geography is important in terms of any and all Red Cross services that are provided to the community, because specifically we have to tailor our services on the veteran and military footprint in our area. We have very little active duty military presence within southeastern Pennsylvania. Larger installations you may find in other parts of the country, but because of that, we have to uniquely tailor some of the services to fit the veterans in our area. Specifically, the veterans in our community range from the still surviving World War II veterans up until the current service of veterans and recent military activity at this point. So a lot of times our veterans and their families are very much integrated into the community, even if they still serve with the National Guard, even if they still serve with the Reserve. So we have to go out to where our veterans are, and our veterans are everywhere because you find veterans in every location. You know, they are first responders, they're teachers, they're in school, they're entrepreneurs. So we have unique challenges in terms of reaching out and finding where they are and getting them the services, but we also learn a lot about our community, and we've become pretty effective in outreach and meeting the veteran and the military member where they are in our community. Next slide, please. This slide really highlights the mission. Historically, what I wanted you to take away from this slide is that we serve a unique role for the nation. And that unique role really stems from the historical foundation of the Red Cross, which was Clara Barton, our founder, at the Battle of Antietam in 1863. That was responding to the worst disasters that typically we suffer, and those are man-made disasters. At that point, it was the Civil War. It was Clara and a small team of initial volunteers that did the hard work of servicing the afflicted and suffering community, which were soldiers, civilians, as well as keeping soldiers at that time in contact with their families at a time when it was very difficult to know what was happening, whether somebody was missing, whether somebody had died on the battlefield, or whether somebody would be returning home. So when we look at some of the core things that we do, specifically the number one responsibility that we have for the Congress and the nation is that we maintain emergency communications between service members and their families. Next slide, please. So this slide really encompasses the 6 chief areas that Service to Armed Forces covers across the nation, but specifically here within the region. And I'll highlight those for you. The emergency services would be the category that just discussed in terms of maintaining communications between service members and their families. We have a 24/7 volunteer-led operation in which we assist and keep service members incommunicado with their families. In the case of illness, death in the family, notice of a birth announcement, we make sure that the service members and their families are able to get in contact, understand what's happening, and we also try to facilitate that service member coming home if that's what's going to happen, and also assist the family where we can. When we look at serving the military, on this slide, moving on to the next category is the VA and medical facilities. Chiefly within our footprint, we have 2 VA hospitals. We have one in Philadelphia. We also have one in Coatesville, which is in Chester County. The roles of both hospitals are distinct in that the one in Philadelphia is the more general hospital with all the full-blown hospital services one would expect. The one in Chester County has more of a focus on mental health and then long-term hospice care for elderly veterans. Just to highlight, we have a number of volunteers that are constantly in there trying to support and advance programs that are going to assist veterans, making them more comfortable, making them more engaged, making them more, making sure that their health outcomes are positive because we're there assisting. And a lot of times what we're able to do is that we're able to operate and fill the vacuum of what the VA doesn't have the manpower or the resources to do. We're able to talk, engage with the veterans, find out what programs they want to have or what items or materials we can support, and we assist our VA partners through that. And we do a very similar job with the mental health aspects of the other VA hospital in Coatesville, but that's a very important mission and something that we do all the time. We're building resiliency in families. We have volunteers that are licensed medical. And what we do with those folks is that, you know, we set up opportunities for them to converse with veterans and their families to help them struggle through stress, depression, and other things that they might be encountering within their reality, as it were. Just so you know, we focus a lot on our programs on those veterans who are having the greatest difficulty adjusting or integrating in their community. And we take a lot of pride in making sure that even though we have a finite amount of resources that we have, we try to focus on the more endangered aspects of the veteran community. And moving on to the next slide, and really the last slide, with only just a few seconds left, I wanted to highlight we also have an international services program, which I'm the director for. And we do a lot of good work of espousing and bringing out to the public what the international humanitarian law program is for the International Red Cross, what restoring family links are in terms of maintaining communication for families internationally that have been disconnected. And we also have a youth action campaign in which we try to animate and educate to the public and advocate for the Red Cross, both the domestic and international programs that we have. So obviously there's a lot to cover and not enough time, but I encourage you, if you have any questions or additional details that you'd like to have, please reach out to me through the FinDev team, and I'd be happy to talk you through those things that we do. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cory Paul. I am the Executive Director of the Greater Columbus Chapter of the Red Cross. I'm also a veteran, combat veteran. I served with the Ohio National Guard for 6 years. I've been working for the Red Cross for now almost 10. You see my vest on. Today I am actually deployed to the California wildfires. So as part of my work, there are opportunities to deploy to different parts of the country to help serve those in need. So I'm very close to Oroville, California, and I am doing work with the government operations. So I have a chance to work with the local county governments to ensure that their citizens are taken care of and informed of the Red Cross programs and services. Currently, we have about 300 people still in hotels from August, and so our goal right now is to work with each one of them individually to find them safe, sanitary, and secure housing solutions. And so it's challenging, especially with it being the anniversary of the Camp Fire that hit this area, Paradise, just 2 years ago. And so there's a lot of PTSD, which I will also talk about a little bit. And so kind of marrying off of what Bill was saying, there are veterans everywhere, and there are a lot of veterans in the Red Cross. This work, I believe, fits very well with the values of service. And we also have opportunities to work with local public safety forces and speak the same language. We're all incident command and really very good at taking orders and working through the hierarchy and doing and completing the mission. And so I'm honored to be here today. I'm an American soldier. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I will never quit. Those are the soldier's creed. That is what we would have to say every day before hitting the sack at basic training, and it was something that we were living. Much like our fundamental principles here at the Red Cross, or much like the mission of the Red Cross, it was that underlying theme of pretty much everything we did. I joined the Army because I had a bunch of student loans. I had about, a good amount of student loans from school. I graduated in 2008, hadn't found a job, was having a hard time with the economy, and was recruited. So I joined the Ohio Army National Guard as a combat engineer. That was a decision I made because it was the closest armory to my home. There was really no other decision. I didn't really know what they did. And so I learned very quickly what combat engineers did. Went through basic, came home and did the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year kind of clip as far as basic training went, and started working for the Red Cross. And so that was kind of my parallel journey. As a civilian, I was working with the Red Cross as a disaster program manager, and 1 week in a month, I was a soldier. A couple of years in, got the deployment orders, and we were deployed to Afghanistan. I'll tell you that we had about six months warning, so that was a nice time to have that amount of warning and to get your affairs in order and take care of things. But it was also a lot of time to think about what that journey might be and the dangers, and a little bit about combat engineers. We are route clearance patrol. Our goal is to send vehicles down the highway or really any road and look for IEDs. And so it's a dangerous job. And Afghanistan at that point in time, it was a dangerous area. And so I didn't really know what my fate was going to befall me. So I've heard stories of other people having to deal with cars and apartments and all kinds of furniture and all those kind of things. And I realized that I'm just like, I'm not going to burden my family with this. So I sold my car. I finished the lease on my apartment. I left to Afghanistan, not really knowing if I was going to come home or not. And that was harder on my parents than it was with me, but because it was focused on the mission, focused on what we were there to do. The screen that you see, anybody who's looking at the screen, those are local national interpreters. So one of my roles within my main job was to manage the local national interpreters, linguists. They went on every one of our missions and would speak with locals as we stopped, ask questions, gather intel about where IEDs or other threats may be hiding around the corner. They called me Mr. Rules because I had so many rules. They weren't allowed to do this. They weren't allowed to do that. They would come to me and try to stretch our policies and procedures, and they were 17-year-olds fighting for their country almost. Some of them are actually here in the States now because they worked with the State Department and worked with the military for so long that they were approved citizenship, which is great. One quick story, I was in the Tactical Operations Center. That was basically kind of a tent with a whole bunch of TV screens, a lot of technology. We were monitoring a lot of goings on in our area of operation, and the phone rang, and I was working that overnight shift with another buddy of mine, and picked up the phone, answered it. Sergeant Paul, Coist, all those, the call signs, and it was the Red Cross. Hi, this is the Red Cross. We have an emergency communication message for you, for your unit. And it was like, prepared a copy. So I had the form out, and I started taking all the information down. And as I was taking the information down, I realized that I had been working at the Red Cross in my civilian role, sending that emergency communication message. So I knew the pacing of it. I knew the questions to ask. I had all the information down. Thank you, Red Cross. We'll get it taken care of. It turns out it was a soldier whose wife was having a baby at that time, and there were some complications with the birth, and that we needed Dad home immediately. And so I took that message to my commander, woke him up in the middle of the night, which is the scariest thing to do. That was probably one of the scariest things I did in Afghanistan, was waking up my commander in the middle of the night. But he understood that it was a Red Cross message, and that he actually trusted me to kind of take it the rest of the way. And so I went and spoke with the soldier who was a good friend of mine, got him on a helicopter, took him out to the fight, got him on a helicopter, got him home. He was able to be home in the hospital as baby and mom were getting well. And I get pictures of the kids still to this day, and they're all doing great. And so it was really interesting to see a Red Cross message from two sides. I got to see it from sending them almost every day from the Red Cross to receiving them and getting a soldier home. That is a picture of me in front of a mine roller. Those big wheels are meant to roll over pressure plates of improvised explosive blow up before it hits the vehicle. And that's me holding a newspaper of the Put-in-Bay Gazette, where most of the time people hold those newspapers at on the top of the Eiffel Tower or at vacation spots. And I thought it would be funny to get a picture of me on my year-long vacation to Afghanistan. So coming home was an interesting bit. I didn't really know what to expect after a year in Afghanistan, after having several explosions, having helicopters flying in the flight line all the time, outgoing fire, incoming fire, troops in contact, the whole thing. And so I came home and I stayed with my parents because I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have another place to go. And while I was gone, a hospital was built down the street from where my parents lived. And it was like an urgent center, level 1, 2, or I don't know how they did the levels, but it was a lot of helicopters flying from car wrecks and other issues in the city, and landing at that hospital 3 or 4 times a night, 5 or 6 times a night. That was not the best place for me to be, because in Afghanistan, the flight line, I heard helicopters flying every day, all the time, all night, and being home in a civilian environment, trying to shake off the high level of stress, the high, you're kind of always excited, you're always on edge, you're ultra aware of everything that you have going on, and trying to relax and sleep as a civilian with helicopters flying over, it was just very difficult for me. I couldn't differentiate the space. I felt like I was back in Afghanistan most nights, and that wasn't good. So, that was hard to tell my parents. That was hard to say, hey, I can't live here. This is, the safest place. It turned out to be not a great place for me. And so I needed help having that conversation. And so I actually, knowing workshops and the mind-body programs that the Red Cross has, I went through a couple of the reconnection workshops, and they are really good, simple, how to start conversations and how to not get so worked up and how to prepare for conversations. And those really helped me kind of go to my parents and say, hey, I'm really sorry, I can't stay here anymore. I need to find another place. I need to go away from the helicopters for a while. And now, for family visits and things like that, myself, my wife, and my 2-year-old baby sleep in that same room. Because that was years ago where I was having those issues, and I've slowly but surely built up the skills to deal with anything that's coming to me, anything that may be problematic. I have those skills to work through, and I'm better for it. And so, you might be asking the question of why I'm doing this today, and it's part of my process. It's part of veteran storytelling. It's part of paying the Red Cross back for the skills and some of the things I've learned, some of the things I've been able to do personally to help myself, to help my family, to get through some of the trauma and the experience that Afghanistan brought. And then I spoke on veteran storytelling. I just want to, thank everyone on this call. This is part of my process. When a lot of people ask me, what's a better thing than saying thank you for your service? And I like thank you for your service. Sometimes I even say, you're welcome for my service. I like when people say that kind of stuff. It's nice. But I like even more when people ask me questions, when they ask thoughtful questions, when they listen with intent. those are the kind of things that you can go one step further than that. Thank you for your service. So I want to thank you all for your attention. Again, this was more for my benefit than for yours. I can guarantee that, but I really hope that you had a sense of the presentation today and what we do for soldiers and sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guards, and their families every day. So I'll turn it back to Joy. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Bill and Cory, thank you for your service. Thank you for all of the additional information and tips that you've shared with us today. Very, very powerful stories. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your busy personal and professional schedules to join us today. I hope that you can join us for our next virtual speakers event on November the 18th, entitled Securing CARES Act, What You Need to Know, and How to Make the Most with Your Charitable Gift. Again, please feel free to email your Red Cross contact that invited you to today's event with any questions or requests for more information. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.